Prince Harry certainly has a knack for making himself the centre of global attention. Harry is seemingly addicted to invading his privacy, invading the privacy of his friends and families, and appearing in public places and making sure that everyone talks about them. He's currently at the High Court in London.
Prince Harry's battle over his security continues. That apparently the Home Office does not want to extend security to Harry for political reasons.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle could lose their bid for taxpayer-funded security in the UK due to concerns of a public backlash.
Actually pokes more holes in Harry's story and proves Prince Harry and Meghan Markle wrong.
Yeah, nobody set out to destroy you. You destroyed yourself in this country with your ludicrous, hypocritical behaviour.
Prince Harry did not win the main Ravik court case to get his automatic taxpayer-funded UK police protection reinstated. In 2020, after stepping back as a working royal and moving to the US, Ravik, the UK's Royal and VIP Executive Committee, removed his automatic top-level publicly funded police protection. Harry challenged that in court. He lost in the High Court in 2024.
What people keep arguing over is whether Harry technically won or lost that security battle, but that misses the real story completely. The verdict itself was only the surface-level headline, the easy part for everyone to debate, while the much bigger question stayed buried underneath it all. What was he truly after this entire time? What was the actual goal behind years of legal complaints, public interviews, emotional statements, and non-stop pressure campaigns? Because once you really dig into that answer, once you see what was sitting underneath all the noise, suddenly the last 5 years stop looking confusing and start looking incredibly deliberate. And when this finally got said plainly, when someone finally cut through all the polished talking points and laid it out in direct language, the reaction was immediate.
Now, the stage of a court case is all about procedure. There are no witnesses, no evidence, no box office material. The hearings take place today and yesterday and could have passed without anyone really noticing, but Harry wanted everyone to see him.
Prince Harry has lost a legal challenge with the UK government over his security entitlements following his decision to step down from royal duties.
Prince Harry has won a full security risk assessment following a major U-turn by the Home Office. So Prince Harry brought a high-profile legal claim against the government over the decision to remove his right to automatic taxpayer-funded security. What do you make of this? Could this actually pave the way for Harry to return to the UK with his children?
People stopped. They listened. Because all at once, the pieces began falling into place in a way they never had before. This was not just another royal family disagreement or another bitter dispute over titles and treatment. This was something much bigger, much more strategic, and far more revealing than most people ever realized. That is exactly what caught attention when Piers Morgan publicly laid out his theory. The moment he said it, there was this noticeable pause across the public conversation, because whether people agreed or not, the explanation forced everyone to look at the situation differently. Suddenly, the endless legal wrangling, the repeated public complaints, the dramatic interviews, all of it started to look less like frustration and more like part of a very specific long-term objective. So let's start at the point where most reports stopped digging. Harry lost that appeal in May 2025. The Court of Appeal reviewed everything. 3 senior judges looked at the arguments, and the decision came back unanimous. The ruling was clear. He would not have his automatic taxpayer-funded police protection restored when visiting the United Kingdom. That much made headlines everywhere. Every outlet covered it.
It's official. Prince Harry really does want his internationally protected person status back, IPP. So this status allows him anytime he's in another country to get security funded by that government. Yes, oh yes, Harry is suing over this. Now, he claims it's just about how he is treated in the United Kingdom. However, what the Telegraph reveals in its recent article is that Harry is looking to see how other countries treat him based on his status via the UK. So if the UK reinstates his internationally protected person status back, that means potentially you and me as an American taxpayer, if you are an American watching this channel, or any other country Prince Harry goes, he should be able to get basically diplomatic level, VIP level security, essentially funded by that government.
Every commentator repeated the same basic summary over and over again. Harry lost. Security denied. End of story. Except that was never the full story at all. Because what barely got explained, and what many major outlets either skipped over or failed to explore properly, is the deeper issue that may have been driving this entire effort from the very beginning. According to Piers Morgan and several legal commentators following the case closely, this was never simply about securing a few armed officers for occasional visits to Britain. The real focus, the much larger objective, appears to center around something known as IPP status, internationally protected person status. And this is where everything changes, because the moment you understand what that designation actually means, the entire picture shifts. Suddenly, this does not look like a narrow legal disagreement over security arrangements for family visits. It starts to look like an attempt to secure one of the most powerful forms of state-backed protection available anywhere in the world.
For Harry and Meghan, the incentive seems to be international. Well, I think the incentive is ego primarily, but also finance, because international government level protection would dramatically reduce the cost of their private security. That would save the Sussexes millions of dollars.
He does not need that level of security because he is not part of that head of state status anymore. So if the UK government allows this, then they are on the hook everything Harry and Meghan are doing in many ways. It may cause problems with other governments because they're like, well, we had to cover the security for this Duke and Duchess of nothing who ran around, did a fashion show, did a couple of charity events. We didn't get any money for it. We got no discernible benefit from it. And so it will cause friction with other countries. This is a huge, massive problem.
IPP status is not casually handed out. It is generally reserved for heads of state, senior government leaders, high-ranking diplomatic officials, and other internationally recognized protected figures. This is elite-level international status, backed by legal frameworks that carry serious weight across borders. And here is the crucial detail that changes everything. If someone qualifies under that framework, host nations become obligated to provide official protection during international travel. That means security arrangements coordinated and covered by the country being visited, rather than privately arranged and privately financed by the traveller. Think about what that could mean in practical terms. Harry and Meghan's travel schedule has stretched across multiple countries over recent years. Public appearances, tours, speaking engagements, private visits, foundation-related events, from places like Nigeria to Colombia, Jordan, Australia, Ukraine, and of course the United States itself. These are not small local appearances with minimal planning. High-profile international travel.
Of the committee making this decision believes there is too much political risk, that people will rise up and be angry about having to fork up such a significant amount of money to protect these two, while the police and security chiefs believe that Harry absolutely must have, again I'm quoting, must have increased security due to threats. Ultimately, Rita, what we think they want is IPP status. IPP stands for internationally protected person. It's normally applied to presidents, prime ministers, and diplomats. If someone has been designated the IPP status, countries are obligated to provide heightened security protection for them, no matter what country it is.
Often involves extensive logistical and security coordination. If a status like that were granted, the financial implications would be enormous. Private security at that level does not come cheap. We are talking about elite protection teams, advanced planning, transportation logistics, venue assessments, coordination personnel, and continuous operational oversight. Estimates discussed publicly have ranged from millions annually, with some placing the potential savings significantly higher, depending on travel frequency and complexity. That alone would make the incentive substantial. But there is another layer people have pointed to as equally important. Enhanced international protection status can create a very different operational environment around travel, event coordination, and institutional handling. It introduces a degree of official recognition and elevated treatment that carries major symbolic and logistical advantages. That was part of the point Piers Morgan highlighted when he discussed the issue publicly. As he put it, the incentive here is ego primarily, but also finance. That line landed hard, because it cut right to the center of the broader debate. If official international level protection dramatically reduces private security costs while simultaneously elevating status and access, then the motivation becomes far easier to understand. And when viewed through that lens, the 5-year legal campaign starts making a different kind of sense entirely. This stops looking like an emotional plea from a concerned son trying to bring his family safely to Britain. It begins to resemble something much more calculated, a sustained effort to obtain a status carrying extraordinary practical and symbolic benefits on a global scale. That interpretation may be debated, of course, but it undeniably reframes the conversation. And then there is the detail that arguably raises even more questions. The one that received remarkably little sustained attention, despite how directly it impacts Harry's public claims. For years, Harry repeatedly argued that his security concerns had not been properly reassessed. He publicly suggested that officials had failed to adequately review changing threats, portraying the process as though he had simply been left exposed without serious reconsideration. After the appeal decision, he gave interviews expressing outrage over what he described as the lack of meaningful review since 2020. The impression left for many viewers was that requests had been ignored, concerns dismissed, and reassessment refused. But here is the part that changes that narrative dramatically. Available reporting indicates that a pathway existed for him to request updated annual security assessments during that entire period. The mechanism was there. The opportunity was available. At multiple points across those 5 years, he could have formally sought fresh review through established administrative processes. Yet no such annual review requests were pursued. And this is where things become especially revealing. Reports suggest the reason was strategic, seeking fresh administrative reassessments while simultaneously arguing in court that the original process itself was unlawful would have risked weakening the legal foundation of the broader case. It would have complicated the central argument by implying participation in and acknowledgement of the very framework being challenged. In simple terms, requesting those reviews may have undermined the lawsuit itself, and if that is accurate, it shifts the meaning of everything that followed, because it suggests the decision not to pursue those assessments was not about being denied the opportunity. It was about preserving the legal strategy. That changes the entire final statement of grievance. It transforms the public complaint from "I was refused review" into something much more complicated, a situation where the available option remained on the table the whole time, but pursuing it could have weakened the larger objective his legal team was trying to protect. Second, that was the legal trap sitting right at the center of this entire situation. And once you see it, everything starts looking a whole lot different. The contradiction was impossible to ignore. You cannot stand in court arguing that a system is fundamentally flawed, unfair, and broken beyond repair, while at the exact same time turning around and using that very same system to secure the result you're asking for. The two positions completely cancel each other out, and any serious legal observer would tell you the same thing. That is the crossroads Harry found himself standing at. He had a choice to make, and it was a very clear one. He could quietly follow the process available to him, request fresh reviews through the proper channels, and work within the framework that already existed. Or he could gamble everything on a much larger legal challenge, a challenge designed to prove the process itself had been mishandled from the beginning. He chose the lawsuit. He chose the courtroom strategy over the administrative route. He committed to years of legal warfare, endless filings, public statements, escalating media pressure, and reportedly millions spent trying to prove that the system had failed him. Year after year, the case rolled forward while the same public argument was repeated again and again, that he had been denied fair treatment and left exposed without proper review. And here is where it becomes impossible to ignore the timing. After all those years of litigation, after all those interviews, after all the public criticism directed toward palace officials and government decision-makers, after every legal avenue had been pushed as far as it could go, The courts finally gave their answer. No. The ruling was decisive, and once that legal road slammed shut, something remarkable happened. Harry then did what he could have done from the very start. He wrote directly to the Home Secretary and formally requested a fresh security reassessment. That is the detail people keep circling back to because it raises such an obvious question. If this route was available all along, why wait 5 years to use it? And then, almost immediately, a new development emerged that suddenly became central to the argument. During a charity visit to the UK in September 2025, reports surfaced involving a woman who had allegedly approached Harry twice during the event. His camp characterized the incident as deeply concerning and presented it as evidence of a credible security threat requiring urgent reassessment. The story spread quickly. Details appeared across media outlets. Discussion intensified. The incident was framed as proof that Harry faced ongoing risks serious enough to justify renewed official review. And just like that, the narrative shifted. Now there was a concrete event to point to, something recent, specific, and emotionally charged enough to trigger fresh scrutiny. One commentator who has followed every twist in this saga summed it up bluntly. Harry, they argued, had effectively prioritized preserving the legal strategy over pursuing the faster route that may have addressed immediate security concerns years earlier. That is a brutal criticism, but it is one that keeps surfacing because the sequence of events is difficult to ignore. The complaint that no reassessment had taken place for 5 years was presented publicly as though government inaction was solely to blame. Yet according to reporting on the process, the absence of those reassessments reflected a strategic legal decision. That changes everything. Because if the reviews were available and simply not requested, then the 5-year gap becomes not a story of outright denial, but one of legal positioning. And when that reality became clearer, Piers Morgan's reaction was exactly what many expected: sharp, direct, and absolutely unsparing. His point was simple. How do you spend years insisting the system has wronged you, spend enormous resources fighting that claim through the courts, lose decisively, and then finally turn to the very mechanism that was available from day one? That contradiction hit hard. But this is where the story gets even murkier, because once attention turned toward this so-called stalker incident, questions started multiplying fast. The more closely people examined the details, the less straightforward the situation appeared. Yes, reports stated that a woman had approached Harry twice during the charity visit. Yes, this incident was highlighted as part of the renewed push for reassessment, but then came the details that complicated the entire narrative. The woman was reportedly never prosecuted. No criminal charges, no arrest, no formal legal action identifying her as a dangerous threat. And according to multiple reports that circulated among those closely following the story, she was described not as a hostile intruder, but as an enthusiastic supporter connected to the Sussex fan community. Someone allegedly seen at prior events involving Harry and Meghan. That changed the framing dramatically, because if true, the picture shifts from a serious hostile breach to something much less clear-cut. Not a coordinated attacker, not an active criminal threat, but potentially an overzealous admirer whose presence was later elevated into something far more alarming. And naturally, this sparked comparisons to another headline-grabbing controversy: the 2023 New York incident. That dramatic claim of a near-catastrophic paparazzi pursuit became one of the most hotly disputed episodes surrounding Harry and Meghan in recent memory. Initial descriptions painted the event as a prolonged and highly dangerous chase through city streets. The language used was intense, dramatic, and instantly explosive. But official statements that followed described the event very differently, framing it as a far shorter and less severe traffic-related situation than originally implied. That discrepancy became a major flashpoint. with critics arguing that the original telling had dramatically escalated the seriousness of what occurred. And now, with the so-called stalker story unfolding under renewed scrutiny, people began asking whether history was repeating itself. Was this another case where a real event was being amplified into something far larger for strategic effect? That question remains central to the skepticism surrounding the incident, because the timing was undeniably convenient. After the legal route had closed, a fresh and highly visible incident suddenly appeared, one capable of forcing exactly the kind of reassessment the courts had declined to mandate. And then came perhaps the most devastating question raised by Piers Morgan during his coverage of all this. If Harry were facing a genuinely immediate and severe threat to his life on British soil, why would this even be a matter of committee debate? Think about that for a second. If intelligence services had credible evidence of an active assassination threat against a senior royal figure, would there really be endless procedural arguments, committee splits, and public wrangling over whether action was necessary? Of course not. Security services would act decisively and immediately. That is what they exist to do. This is why the reported internal division became such a focal point. According to various accounts, there appeared to be disagreement between political and security considerations surrounding the issue. One side allegedly concerned about precedent and public reaction, the other examining operational threat assessments. And to critics, that split itself raised questions. Because truly urgent threats do not linger in procedural limbo. They trigger direct intervention. They prompt immediate protective action. They do not sit unresolved inside committee rooms while debates drag on. And then came the moment that pushed the entire contradiction into the spotlight so intensely that even long-time observers were stunned. This was the point where Piers Morgan openly lost patience. While Harry's legal representatives were standing in a London courtroom arguing that his life faced constant danger whenever he entered Britain, another image emerged that seemed impossible to square with that claim. Harry boarded a plane and travelled to Ukraine, a nation actively dealing with wartime instability, a place facing genuine ongoing military danger. And there he was, publicly visiting veterans, moving through active risk territory, appearing calm and composed, without the kind of visible extraordinary security presence his UK legal arguments seem to imply was absolutely essential. That contrast hit like a thunderbolt, because critics immediately asked the obvious question: how can Britain be presented as uniquely dangerous beyond safe access without state-level protection, while travel into an active conflict environment appears acceptable? That contradiction became impossible for many to overlook. And for Piers Morgan, it represented the ultimate collapse of the argument. The image of Harry walking through a country under bombardment while insisting Britain itself posed unacceptable danger, all while calmly moving among veterans. Third, when Piers Morgan saw this unfold, he went straight to X and made his position crystal clear, and it immediately set social media on fire. He posted, "So hypocrite Harry flies straight from a British court, where he is suing for more protection in UK because it's too dangerous for him to a war zone in Ukraine. He really is as dumb as a rock." The message spread fast because it was blunt, direct, and impossible to ignore. Ukraine stood out as the most dramatic example, but critics say it's only part of a much bigger pattern. Harry has also visited Nigeria, where Boko Haram operates in certain regions, along with Colombia, Jordan, Mexico, and other countries that come with varying levels of real-world risk depending on location. Despite this, he has been seen moving through these places and even parts of London in ways that appear relaxed and unguarded, without the level of heavy protection described in his legal arguments. Reports have included moments of him walking publicly, attending events, and even turning up unexpectedly at places like weddings or casual gatherings without obvious armed security presence. This contrast is what fuels the ongoing criticism. On one hand, court arguments describe a serious and ongoing security concern in the UK. On the other, his real-world travel choices often show him moving freely in environments that also carry risk, without behaving as though he is constantly under threat. That is where Piers Morgan's central argument comes in. He says a person who genuinely believes their life is in danger would not repeatedly choose to enter high-risk regions or behave so casually in unpredictable environments. In his view, the pattern does not fully match the level of fear being claimed in court. After Harry lost his appeal and appeared in a BBC interview, Piers escalated his response and called on King Charles to strip Harry and Meghan of their royal titles entirely. Not reduce them or review them, but remove them completely. He pointed to the Andrew precedent, referencing October 2025, when Prince Andrew lost his titles following major controversy. Piers argued that this established a clear standard. If a royal's actions damage the institution, titles can be removed. He posted on X saying, "The King must strip Harry and Meghan of their titles ASAP. They are never going to stop attacking him, the monarchy and the royal family, all while simultaneously enriching themselves from their royal status. It's despicable." Timing also played a major role in how this story landed. Harry's BBC interview aired on the same day as his appeal loss, where he spoke about his father's health, expressed emotional concern, and accused the institution of bias while also referencing his family's struggles. In that single moment, he combined legal frustration, emotional appeal, and criticism of the monarchy all at once. Supporters saw honesty, critics saw calculated timing and emotional framing. Piers went further, calling the pattern an emotional con, which only intensified the public divide around the entire issue. Public reaction has also shifted over time. A YouGov poll reportedly showed around 62% of respondents now support stripping Harry and Meghan's titles, a noticeable rise compared to earlier years, reflecting growing frustration among sections of the public. Beyond public opinion, the dispute sits inside a wider pressure point for the monarchy itself. The institution is already facing scrutiny over finances, relevance, past scandals, and rising Republican sentiment in parts of the public. In that environment, critics argue Harry's ongoing legal battles and security demands become more than personal disputes. They become part of a broader challenge to the monarchy's credibility. At the same time, his life in California stands in sharp contrast to his courtroom claims. Living privately in Montecito, earning through commercial deals and media projects, while still pursuing royal-linked security arguments, creates a tension critics continue to highlight. Piers Morgan warned that if this continues, it could weaken public trust in the monarchy as a whole, potentially damaging the very institution tied to the privileges being debated. Meanwhile, royal family dynamics remain deeply split. Reports suggest Prince William has no interest in reconciliation under current conditions, with aides describing his stance as a deal-breaker regarding Harry and Meghan's actions. King Charles is described as being caught in the middle, managing institutional pressure, health issues, and a fractured family, while also reportedly not having seen his grandchildren since 2022. So the situation now sits in a tense balance. The court has ruled against Harry, public debate remains highly divided, family relationships are still broken, and commentary figures like Piers Morgan continue to frame it as a larger conflict over status, identity, and the future of the monarchy itself. And at the centre of it all, the question remains whether this was ever just about security, or something far bigger playing out in plain sight. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more updates just like this.